Okay, so I'm going to have a look at a basic application, a Powershell customization graphical user interface. Now this is developed in Visual Studio C#, and you can see here that it consists of a single form, and we've got just tabs on this form, so it's just a tabbed view. We can change between tabs, and we've got some combo boxes, text boxes, and also some buttons on the form as well. So let's see what happens. What this does is enables us to transfer files from a server, this computer, to another remote computer, and it does so using PowerShell scripts. So we need to enter the IP address of this server, and we can do that using a combo box because we can select the IP address on this server, and we can then put in the IP address of a remote PC that we want to transfer a folder to. And we set up a test share, a shared folder, and then once we've done that, we can use that to share files to another computer. And then we simply put in the destination folder on the remote PC. So for example, C :/test if we're putting it into a test folder. We've got a debug window so that we can see the output of this command. What this does is it takes the contents of these boxes and it puts it into a PowerShell script. And when we click on this transfer button here, it runs that script. And on this other tab here, we can do the same thing, but we can also run, so we can copy a Windows installer file with a .msi extension. We can copy that to a remote PC, and we can run the msi exec command to actually install software using that. So let's just have a look at how this application, the transfer file folder PowerShell script works within this application. So let's have a look at the code. So when the form opens, the form loads, we populate our combo boxes first of all. We clear them first of all. We go and find shares because we're interested in finding shares that exist. Well, we need to create the shares already on the computer. So this function here finds all of the shares that exist on our computer, and then it adds those to these two combo boxes that are used on the forms. And then if we go and look, we find the IP addresses. So we run get IP addresses. This is what it's doing here. This little simple function here locates all of the IP addresses on this computer, and then it populates the combo boxes on the forms with those IP addresses. So once we've loaded that, now if we run, this is the actual section of code that does the transfer of files. So button 1, that's the button on the form here, this transfer button. If that's clicked, we need to check to make sure that we've got valid IP addresses. So the this string here called server, we define this above here at the start of our top of our application here. But this string called server, it takes the contents of the combo box, the one we've selected. It also takes the contents of the text box. So we've got our server's IP address, and we've got the destination PC's IP address. We just want to run this function here is valid IP to make sure that those are valid IP addresses. That's our first check, just a simple check. We don't necessarily need that, but it would make sense to do that. And this is basically what happens. It checks to make sure that we've got a valid IP address. So that's the first thing. So if our address is valid, we carry on. And then we prompt our users with a dialog box, a message box, to say, do you want to go ahead with a transfer of files from one PC to another? And then we run this function here called transfer files, and we take the contents of the combo boxes and the text box 2 again, which is the share and the destination folder. And so if we go down to here, this is where what we do here is we compile our PowerShell script. So we need some usernames and passwords initially, and we also need a U drive. That's going to be our temporary drive. we build the commands here, so we start with command 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the various lines of command that make up our script, and we're going to use this script here. We're going to map the network drive. We're going to use invoke command, and we're going to use map network drive, and then we're going to use copy item to copy the file from one folder to the other. And so we create a new instance of a PowerShell script. We add those commands together to make one command. We then want to put those commands into a text box, which is our debug window, and then we add those commands to our PowerShell script, and then we invoke the script. So it's very straightforward. Running a PowerShell script from within this application is very straightforward. And it's a similar thing when we want to run our the remote install as well. The code for that is down here. So when we click on the other button on this form, which is button 3 here, when we click on that button, it does the same sort of thing, and it transfers the executable file over to the other computer, and then we run this install MSI script here. So I've just shown you so it builds another script to do that sort of thing. We might also need to select an MSI file, also using one of these open file dialogues, just to populate this box here. So that's where we need to select the file. So when we click on this button here, it opens a dialog so that we can select an MSI file, and that's the only difference between the two. We've still got the debug window here. So let's see what happens when we run this command then. Now I'm not running it on a computer with, I haven't really got access to another computer, so it's not going to run exactly as it should, but we should get something sensible coming out. So I'm going to select the IP address of this computer, so I'll select one of these addresses. One of those should work. There's a number of addresses, and some of them are IP version 6 addresses. So if you've got a number of network adapters on your computer, then obviously you're going to have multiple IP addresses potentially. And then we need to select the remote address of another PC, so I'm just going to sort of make one up here for the moment. And we'll then select a share, so we'll look for, let's select this share here, and a destination folder on the remote PC, so I'll go for my folder as an example, and then I'm going to transfer those files over. So I've selected an IP address. Now if I actually put an IP address that's wrong in, that's obviously a wrong address. Let's see what happens. So it says invalid IP address, and we can actually go back to here. We can go back to our the button here, and we can make sure we can put a breakpoint on there if we want to as well, just to make sure this is working correctly. So if I go into here, toggle the breakpoint, and if I run that again, we can see that it gets to here, and I can press F5 for it to carry on running, and it says invalid IP addresses, which is what we'd expect it to do. And let's put a valid IP address in, and when I click on transfer there, it does the same thing again, but we should be okay now. It says transfer a folder from PCs to the PCs, and it should then eventually come up with the commands to do that. So there we go. So that's completed. So this is what it's done. So it's taken the contents, it's actually claims that it's transferred those files, and this is the contents of the debug window. And if we go back to our code, you can see that these are actually the commands. So where we've got target folder, actually the box itself, you can see that the target folder is called C:my folder. Now what I can do, if I want to debug this, I can take the contents of this box, I can just copy it, and I can actually go and paste that into a text file, and I can save that file with a .ps1 extension. I can run that, as an external PowerShell script, and I can edit it accordingly. But you see, this program, what it does is it saves me having to edit this text file manually, because if I wanted to change the IP address, if I wanted to send this file to another computer, I'd have to go in and edit that text file manually and change the IP address. If I wanted to change the destination folder, I'd have to go in there and I'd have to manually change this. Every time I wanted to do that, I'd have to go in there and start making changes manually. But what this application does is it enables me to automate this process. So I can change the address here very easily. I can change the name of the destination folder from in here, and it will those changes will be reflected when again I do this transfer again, and you'll see that we get transfer to PCs again, files transferred, and you can see we've got the folder, the change of folder, and the change of IP address again. So it automates the process of generating PowerShell scripts, enables us to much easier customize them and automate them much better. So, and this would make a very good final year project. There are many other things that can be done with this.